Hey guys, decided to make a video of my computer setup. This is actually one of the oldest hobbies I have. I don't talk about it at all on my channel except for the one video I mentioned. So you know what, since I've been doing this for 23 years, I'm just going to show everybody what I have, talk about what I've been doing for a long time, and stuff like that. So this is my setup at a distance. And I've been doing this, like I said, for 23 years, since I was 13 years old. I'm 36 now. This computer I actually built in 2017. I've been upgrading it, here and there over the last 4 or 5 years. And the case, if you're wondering, is a Thermaltake View 71 case. They're still being sold today. It was brand new back then in 2017, 2018, or whatever. It's a full-size tower, so it's a very large, heavy tower. It has open air case, so it's got glass, tempered glass everywhere, but it's all open air pretty much. So, and I water cool. I've been water cooling now for 23 years, since I was 13, 14 years old. The water cooling you see right here is actually custom water cooling, which is what I prefer and what I've been doing for the entire time. Most people today who water cool, they will buy AIOs, which are all-in-one water cooling. So they'll have a 280 millimeter or 360 millimeter radiator, which is up here, and one in the front. And it'll be sealed. You can't service it. It'll have a water block and a pump in one, with the tubing to mount, wherever you want to mount the radiator. And they just call it a day, and that's it. But I prefer to control my setup. I prefer to set my water cooling the way I want it. And, you get more satisfaction out of that. Back then, we had to do that. We had pond pumps. We didn't have pumps, in the reservoir right here. We didn't even have reservoirs back then. We had to make our own reservoirs. We had to get tubing from Lowe's. The water blocks were made by, Danger Den. They were just simple maze water blocks, which would be like a little swirly maze, and then that's it. They would be solid copper blocks, so it'd be a copper top, copper bottom. Then, of course, the Danger Den Maze 3 came out, and it had a loosened top and a copper bottom, which is pretty much all water blocks today have. So yeah, we would use heater cores from cars. So we didn't have radiators back then. They did come out, after 2 or 3 years of me doing it. They started coming out with the Black Ice and the Black Ice Extreme. Companies started, getting onto all this stuff. We didn't have video card water blocks. We would actually take the CPU water block and we would bolt it to the 4 mounting bolts on the block, or on the video card. That was funny. And for the memory, to cool that down, we would actually take memory, little heat sinks, little thin heat sinks, and we would cut them with saws, and we would glue them with a thermal glue. It was a glue that just got hard as a rock, and if you popped that off, it would rip your memory off or rip your GPU off. It's actually funny. I've done that a couple times. So, and that's what we would do. So fast forward in 2017. I decided to upgrade. And you're thinking, wow, you had a computer for 20 years, you didn't upgrade it? No, I upgraded the computer, but I used the water cooling for 23 years. So I had the same Danger Den Maze 2 and 3 block for my CPU. I just modified the mounting brackets to work on the processor. And I used that all the way up from the Duron, the Athlon XP, the Athlon 64 dual core, all the way to my E8400 Wolfdale from Intel. And then I finally decided to retire that when I went to the AMD Ryzen. I spent $1,100 on just the water cooling and fans. $1,100. That's people are watching this video what the hell? But that's actually how much it costs. So if you see a setup like this, it's going to be over $1,000. Easy. So, I'm using a Thermaltake View 71 case. I have Thermaltake Ring Plus fans. I think I have 11 of them. Yes, I went overboard. 360 millimeter EK radiator in the front. This radiator and fan setup is blowing inward. The 2 fans here are blowing up. And yes, the radiator up here, which only has 3 ring fans, and then it has 2 140 millimeter fans on the top, that is actually blowing down. And you would say, well, why are you blowing hot air which rises down inside of the case? Well, the reason why is because of this. I'm blowing hot air from this way. Why would I suck it up out of the case through the radiator? Think about that for a second. So basically, I'm cooling everything off from here, and then I'm heating it back up from here. That makes no sense. So that's why I do all the radiators in the case. And another reason why is because of positive air pressure. The whole system is open. I don't want dust getting in here. So with the positive air pressure, it actually blows the heat out of every nook and cranny of the case. And I do have one exhaust fan back here, of course. Now, you're going to say, well, you're blowing your hot air on your reservoirs. Yes, I know, I am doing that, okay? But I can't route it any differently, so it is what it is. But I'm definitely not going to be blowing the hot air from the case out of my top radiator. And if anybody's watching this video and you water cool, you really have to think about it for a minute. Why would you, and I notice a lot of people do this, they have AIO coolers. Why would you mount your radiator on the top blowing out? You're taking all of the hot air from your video card, from your memory, from your South Bridge down here, from your NVMe drive, everything, and you're blowing it through your radiator. You want cold air to go through your radiators, not hot air. So you need to reroute your radiators if you want to have the most efficient way of doing this. Trust me, I've been doing this for a long time, so it's actually common sense too. But anyway, that's another story. And another thing is hot air rises, but you also got to remember it's not sitting in the case, it's moving. So the hot air is not going to rise like you think it is. So anyway, yes, my cable management sucks. Unfortunately, this case did not have a like a shield right here for the power supply for cables, which a lot of cases do now. So normally there would be like a shield right here, and all of these wires would be down here and you wouldn't see them anymore. But that's the reason why I have it like that, because it's just the only way to do it in this case. I did the best I could as far as cable management. You really don't see it when you're sitting in the chair and you're looking at it from this, so you only see the power cable and a few RGB cables, and that's about it. So now the reservoirs, why do I have 2? You honestly don't even need a reservoir. It does help for long-term temperature. The temperature will equalize, but for short-term temperature, that's where it helps. A reservoir, I also liked them because I like Resident Evil, and this is the virus and the antivirus, the blue helix in here. You can't really see it's blue, but I got red liquid. The lights were actually red before I made the video, so... So the processor is a 5800X from AMD. Sorry, 5800X 3D from AMD. I just got that like 6 days ago. Using an EK Supremacy Evo water block. It's not RGB. I kind of wish I did get an RGB one, but I didn't. I'm using EK and Thermaltake fittings. There's actually Thermaltake fittings right here, and those are EK. And the memory is G-Scale, Trident Z Neo, pretty popular back then. It's the DDR4 3600 CL16. If you guys are nerds like me, it is not B-Die, it's just a regular Hynix. But it does overclock to 3800 megahertz. Unfortunately, with 4 sticks, I can only get to 3733 megahertz, which is actually still pretty high for 4 sticks. Most people can't get that high with 4 sticks. The memory control on the processor usually can't handle 4 sticks of memory and overclocking. So anyway, so I have 32 gigs. I actually just upgraded that. I had 16 for the longest time. So the processor I got like 6-7 days ago. The memory I got like 2 or 3 days ago. Another 16 gigabytes. I mean, the motherboard is a Gigabyte X570 RS Wi-Fi. It was like a $200 board when I got it. The hard drive, I have a NVMe. It's a 970 Evo Pro, 500 gigabytes. Got that 3 years ago. Now, 500 gigabytes is not a lot, but you also got to remember 3 years ago, 500 gigabyte NVMe was $200. So today they're like I think $70 or something like that for a good 500 gig drive. So 1 terabyte drive I think is like $100 for a really really good drive. And I'm actually planning to go to 2 terabytes. I want an 850X, which is I think double the read write of this almost. So this will be my storage drive down here. Primary drive will be up here. And I will get rid of my SATA SSDs because I have SATA SSDs over here, and I actually do have a mechanical drive in the back of the system, so that's all going to go. The video card I just got about a week ago as well. It's a... I hate this flashing that this thing is doing. So the video card is actually a... stop flashing. Jesus, the RGB is freaking my phone out. So the video card is an X570, or sorry, a 6900 XT. I bought it on... Sorry about the flashing. I don't really know what's going on with this phone. Stop flashing. Sorry, it's a 6900 XT from AMD. I bought that with the heat killer water block for $600 about a week or so ago. I waited until the 7900 series came out from AMD to see what that was all about. And I originally had a 1080 Ti in there. And the 1080 Ti I had for 4 or 5 years. That was a great card. There was no reason to upgrade. Plus, video cards are overpriced as shit today, so AMD and NVIDIA, if you're watching this, you can suck my balls, you know, and bend over so I can fuck you in the ass because I'm so sick of these fucking prices. Sorry, I just had to do that. So I know a lot of video card reviewers don't want to say that, but I will. So anyway, 6900 XT for $600. That was a good price, I guess, because about 4 or 5 months ago they were $1,100 to $1,000. So I kind of wanted a 7900 XT, but there's a lot of issues with them today. And on top of that, I had to get a new monitor, and I'll get into that in a second. So the monitor kind of took away my video card money. I didn't have to get the memory, and I didn't have to get the processor. I could have just got a better video card, but then I'll be stuck with a 3800X, and I'll be CPU limited probably. So I decided not to do that. So the power supply is an EVGA Supernova G2, 750 watts, and that's pretty much the system. The monitors, this one right here is a 27-inch Viotech GN27DB. It's a 1440p curved monitor, 144 hertz. It's a VA panel. And this monitor I actually just replaced with the one over here. And the reason why is because there's a really common problem with this monitor. Can you see those lines? These lines going across the screen? I know you can see them. It's ugly as shit when I play video games. This just started about 6 months ago. I got the monitor in 2017. Apparently, every Samsung VA panel from back then had this defect. It's not the monitor itself, it's actually one of the chips on the board in the back that goes bad. You can pop off one of the resistors or whatever, and it fixes it for like 1 or 2 months, and then it happens again. So Samsung, you can go to hell too. So this monitor is a Dell 2722 DGM. It's also 27 inches, curved, VA, 1440p, 165 hertz. So this is my primary monitor for gaming. This will be my secondary for, you know, Windows, YouTube, and stuff like that while I'm in the game. So, believe it or not, I've actually not had a dual monitor setup. So, and I know that's kind of old. You know, my brother asked, "Why do you only have single monitor? You've been doing this for a long time. Everybody's dual or ultra wide," and I just didn't really need 2 monitors. So. Keyboard is a Thermaltake Poseidon Z, which was pretty popular back then. This is a Asus Gladius 2. I think they have a Gladius 3 or something like that now, but that was a popular mouse. And then, of course, the final upgrade I did was the Bose Quiet Comfort 35 2 headphones. These were $300, but I absolutely love noise-canceling headphones, so you have to have those. So that's my setup. I'm actually thinking of making a YouTube channel for tech stuff. I've been doing this for so long now. Why not talk about that? You know what I mean? Everybody else does it. So anyway, the only thing I have to say is if you are getting into computers and you want to do water cooling, Think about going custom. It costs more money, but it's so much more satisfying. Everybody does AIOs. You know, that's just, you take it off the shelf, plug it in, you're done. Yeah, it's easy and it costs less, but custom water cooling is so much more fun. Um, anyway, let me know what you guys think of the system. Uh, Sorry, I know it's a little bit different when it comes to my channel, but yeah, it's my main hobby. Guns are not really my main hobby. I just decided to make a YouTube video for guns and lights. And you know, another thing that I don't know if I mentioned was back then when we did custom water cooling, we had to make our own cases too. We actually had to get a regular case, cut out the side panel, get a piece of acrylic from Lowe's, and then the RGB lights we had back then were actually just single fans with 3 or 4 blue lights or a red light fan or a green fan. We didn't have multicolors. You had to get one or the other. And LEDs were not big back then, so we actually had cold cathode fluorescent lighting. Cold cathodes were interesting. It was like a tube, a fluorescent tube, a really small one that you would stick right here or stick right there and would light up your case blue. So they were really cool. Excuse me. So that's what we used to do back then. So we were pretty ghetto, using car parts and pond pumps and fluorescent lighting and no LEDs and cutting up our cases and making fan holes in the side of them. And those were the days. Everything is so easy for the young people now. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys.